What's up guys, Mike here, the Detroit Borg with the brand new 6th generation iPad. This is a follow-up to the 5th generation which debuted last year and is mostly a spec bump. So we get a new A10 Fusion chip along with support for Apple Pencil for the first time on the budget iPad. So budget in this case means $329 to start, but if you're an educator, you can get this for $299. 32 gigs of storage is standard, which I think is good enough for most people, but you can upgrade for $100 to 120 gigs. You can also add cellular connectivity, which also adds GPS for another $129, which brings the maximum price to $559. Once again, this is available in 3 colors: silver, space gray, and the new revised gold color, which debuted on the iPhone 8 and the Apple Watch Series 3 late last year. So this is the first iPad and certainly the largest device to get this new color. So naturally, I had to get all 3 colors to take a look at, especially since the gold is a new one. Now, in terms of the unboxing experience, it's a pretty familiar one. So once we lift up the lid, we'll see our iPads wrapped in a clear plastic. That's a bit different than the frosted plastic we've seen on the iPad Pro or even the new MacBooks. But it does make that great sound when you peel it off. In terms of the accessories, of course, we get a lightning cable for recharging the iPad, and beneath the paperwork, we'll find a 12-watt power adapter. Now, these have removable prongs, so you can add an extension cable if you need, or use a different wall adapter if you're traveling internationally. In terms of paperwork, if you get the standard Wi-Fi model, of course, we'll get a set of white Apple stickers, some regulatory and warranty info, and a quick start guide, which is just a single card. But if you get the cellular version, you'll find a SIM ejection tool included as well. Another nice feature that comes with the A10 Fusion CPU and the M10 Motion coprocessor is wireless Hey Siri. So we can now command Siri without being connected to power for this iPad. So the design of the 6th generation is identical to the 5th generation. There's really nothing that tells you that this is the newer iPad besides the new gold color, if you happen to get that one. Speaking of that gold color, you can see side by side, the previous model had a much more yellow gold compared to this more warmer copper gold. And again, it resembles the new Apple Watch and the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus. Now personally, I really like this. It's a much more vibrant, warmer color and sort of bridges the gap between the yellow gold and the rose gold that we had before. So basically, the entire chassis has the exact same dimensions and button placements of the previous model. We even have the same cameras and the same display. Speaking of that display, it's a 9.7-inch LCD IPS display with a resolution of 1536 by 2048. That's the same Retina resolution we've had since the 2012 iPad 4th generation. Once again, this display is not laminated to the glass like the iPad Air 2 or the iPad Pros, so there is a slight air gap here which might be noticeable, but for the most part, I don't think it's a big deal. All of the cameras are carried over as well. So the iSight camera is still 8 megapixels with an f2.4 aperture and records 1080p video at 30 frames per second. We also have slow-mo at 120 frames per second. In terms of picture quality, it's basically the same camera we had from the iPhone 6, just with better image processing. For the most part, it's a pretty decent camera. It's a bit better than I expected, but definitely nothing great, especially in terms of low light performance where things tend to get a bit noisy and undersaturated, so there's not quite the vibrancy you expect from a modern camera, but again, it's adequate for most uses. The FaceTime camera is still 1.2 megapixels and records video at 720p at 30 frames per second. So this is the 1.2 megapixel FaceTime HD camera. So it's a pretty old one, but it still does a pretty decent job here. So it's not quite as sharp or colorful as the more recent FaceTime cameras. So I can't complain too much here. It's got good exposure even if I challenge it, so it's able to keep my face exposed and kind of blow out the background. But for the most part, it certainly gets the job done and should be more than adequate for most uses. Now this is the 7 megapixel 1080p camera on the iPad Pro and the iPhone 10. Certainly a much better looking camera, a lot more color, that's the big thing. Also, it's not as noisy or not as soft as the 1.2 megapixel sensor. Although I don't think that camera looks terrible, this certainly looks quite a bit better. And if that's important to you, probably want to go with the iPad Pro. Touch ID returns once again with a color matching metal ring surrounding the sapphire glass that covers the sensor. So again, this can be used to unlock the iPad or making online payments. Just below the home button is the Lightning connector, flanked on either side by a set of stereo speakers. Speaker quality is pretty decent. It's identical to the 5th generation. The only problem is that the audio is quite lopsided when you're handling the iPad in landscape orientation. In terms of buttons, they're in the same place. We have the volume controls along with the sleep-wake power button. And just like all iPads, we still have a headphone jack, and the insert again is color matched to the iPad. Toward the backside top edge, we have a set of dual microphones, one facing toward the back and one facing toward the side. Now, as you can see here, I have a version with LTE, so I have this plastic trim piece, which is either black or white, depending on which color you get, and that allows for the radio transparency needed for GPS and LTE to work through this chassis. Now, if you have a cellular model, you'll find a nano SIM tray toward the bottom right edge. Now, unlike the iPad Pro, we do not have an embedded SIM or electronic SIM built into the iPad. Instead, you can install a SIM from your carrier, or you can use the Apple SIM, which allows you to assign the SIM to any carrier that it supports. In terms of specs, carried over from the last generation is 2 gigs of RAM, but we get the new A10 Fusion CPU, which is a version of the A10X Fusion CPU in the iPad Pros. But this is a quad-core design instead of the 6-core design. So essentially, this is the same chip that's in the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus. The other slight spec change here is the battery size. So we have a 32.4 watt-hour battery in here. That's down just slightly from the 32.9 from the previous design, but it doesn't affect overall battery life, and that's probably thanks to the more efficient processor. According to Apple, you should get about 10 hours of on-screen time out of this iPad on Wi-Fi, and 9 hours if you're using cellular. And of course, that varies greatly depending on whether you're gaming or if you have the screen set to maximum brightness. In case you're wondering, it looks like the iPad 6th generation does not pick up the USB 3 spec like the iPad Pro, so fast charging doesn't seem to work in this case. Compared to the iPad Pro, there's some obvious differences. This is a 9.7-inch screen versus a 10.5 or 12.9-inch, and of course, there is the performance and price premium. Of course, we also have nicer displays on the iPad Pros with DCI-P3 and ProMotion for that high refresh rate, and those displays are also laminated to the glass. iPad Pro also doubles the speaker count to 4, so we have speakers on the top and bottom, not just on one side. iPad Pro also gets better cameras. We have a 12-megapixel camera on the back with optical image stabilization and 4K video recording, along with a quad LED True Tone flash. And if you have these cellular models, the iPad Pro does it much more discreetly with a thin stripe along the back instead of this big black or white plastic window. As always, this iPad also has magnets along the edge for accessories like the Smart Cover, but what's missing here from the iPad Pro is the Smart Connector, which provides an electrical connection for keyboards. Of course, you can still use Bluetooth keyboards with the iPad, but it would be kind of nice to have a solution like this for the classroom. So although the $99 Apple Pencil is not included with the iPad, at least it does support it, which is a much lower price point to getting this feature than the iPad Pro. And it works exactly the same. So to pair the Pencil to the iPad 6th generation, you connect it to the Lightning connector at the bottom. This also allows you to recharge the internal battery of the Apple Pencil. Just like on the iPad Pro, you can also check the battery status of the Apple Pencil by going to the battery widget available from the drop-down notification shade. So Apple Pencil works exactly the same on this iPad as it does on the iPad Pro. You have pressure sensitivity as well as angle sensitivity, and this gives you very precise natural control of the pencil in drawing apps. So as you press harder, depending on the tool you're using, it will get darker or lighter. It's important to keep in mind that the Apple Pencil is really not designed to be used as a navigation tool for the user interface. You're going to find limited functionality there, so this is really designed for specific apps to use, so drawing apps and that sort of thing. So don't buy this if you expect to use this instead of your finger. Now, I already have a very detailed review of how the Apple Pencil works, so I'll leave that video linked in the description below so you can check that out. So in terms of the software experience, it's pretty much identical to other iPads, including the iPad Pro. So you can authenticate by tapping the home key, press again to take it to the home screen. You can swipe down anywhere on the home screen to get to the search panel, swipe from the top to get to the notification panel, and swipe right to get to your widgets. Now, if you go to the home screen here and swipe up again, you can see our recent apps as well as our control center. So you can control the brightness, a long press to enable the night shift mode, and you can also do not disturb, turn off Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and more. You can also expand these out by pressing on them. So even though we don't have 3D touch here, just long press and this will do the same thing. So down here we have our dock, which is very analogous to the dock in Mac OS. So we can drag and drop the apps we want to keep pinned here, like so, and then it will resize, and it'll continue resizing until it's quite small. So toward the right side, we have all of our recently opened apps. So for example, if I go into Geekbench here, I can swipe up again to get back to this dock and open up another app, such as the music app. I can also open up apps side by side. So if I bring up the dock, I can go ahead and drag this app to the side. This will resize the windows, and I can do two things at once. So I have multitasking here. So I can interact with both apps simultaneously, resize the window, and then I can also swipe down again to reposition it to the other side if I want, or just use this pop-up viewer and slide it away if I want, or slide it back in. So again, I can swipe down to pop it out, then I can move it side to side, swipe down to dock it, and resize it like so. So in the end, this is an undeniable bargain, especially with this processing power and the support for Apple Pencil. But it's also not the most exciting iPad to get either. There's not a lot new here besides the spec bump and of course support for things we've had before. But it really comes down to the fact that we have all the same functionality of the iPad Pro in a much cheaper form factor, even if it's not as exciting. Alrighty guys, hope you enjoyed this look at the 6th generation Apple iPad. If you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know with a like, and I'll see you again in my next video.